Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by and please consider subscribing. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at this bubu that has some ruching at the side and a turtleneck. So I am drawing a horizontal line at the top edge of this fabric. This is a damask fabric and it's by 60 inches length. So I have about 3 yards of this fabric and I folded it into 4 because I am cutting the front and the back panels together. So after getting the horizontal line as the start point at the top edge of this fabric, I am going inwards from the front center with 2.5 inches and downwards with 1 inch. So the 1 inch is for the neck depth and the 2.5 inches is for the neck width. Connecting those 2 points, I am placing a half of the shoulder measurement, and from that point of the half of my shoulder measurement, I am placing the sleeve length of 17 inches. Sorry, my camera did not capture this part, but of course you get to see it later. So at that point of 17 inches, I went down with 1.5 inches and I'm connecting that point to the neck width. After connecting that to the neck width, I will go from my shoulder slope downwards with 10 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance. Okay, so 11 inches altogether. At that point of the 11 inches, I am drawing a horizontal line inwards. And then I will extend the sleeve length to the 11 inches, same with the hem allowance of 1 inch. Okay, so after drawing the 2 vertical lines, I'll place a quarter of the hip circumference. Note, it is not the bust measurement. I'm placing a quarter of the hip circumference on that horizontal line and I'm adding 8 inches for ease allowance. Included in that 8 inch, I will take out 1 inch for seam allowance. So that means I am using 7 inches for ease allowance. So now I will extend the measurement that I have there. So remember we placed a quarter of the hip circumference, which was 11.5 inches. I added 8 inches, that makes it 19.5 inches. And I'm using that same measurement to extend it to the length of the bubu. That's it. So after extending that length, I am cutting it out, the neck weight, the sleeve length. And at that point of the sharp edge, I had to cuff it, okay? And then I cut it down to the length of this fabric. So now I use the 60 inches length, all right? So for the front neckline, I am going downwards with 2.5 inches. I'm going downwards with 2.5 inches. Because of the kind of turtleneck we'll be doing, I'm using 2.5 inches, okay? I'll connect the neck width to meet this 2.5 inches. That's the neckline for the front panel. And I'm marking 17 inches for the half length, okay? On that 17 inches, that's where we'll be placing the belt, the ropes that we'll be needing for, to tie it to give us that snatch look on the bubu. So I'll set the back panel aside. And this is the front panel that we have. So I'm cutting out the neckline of the front panel. And then I will need to notch this, the midpoint of it. It will come very handy when you're installing the turtleneck. So from my neck width, I am placing a half of my shoulder measurement. And then I'll get the midpoint of that 8.5 inches, which is the half of the shoulder measurement, and notch it. Okay, you notch that, not too much, but such that you make it noticeable. Okay, so I need it just for the left part of the front panel because I will place a kind of decoration on that part. So now I have this strap that's about 2.5 inches width. It was 6 inches. I used half inch to sew it and turn it inside out. So I was left with 2.5 inches because it's unfold. So now I'm making inverted pleats as the design here. So I simply made it 1 inch away from the shoulder line. Of course, I placed it on the shoulder line, okay? But I started pleating 1 inch away from the shoulder line so that when I use half inch to sew at the shoulder, I will still have a little of it, as a start point. Hope you understand. So I made this tiny inverted pleat all the way to the edge of this rope. This fabric was about 42 inches in length and 2.5 inches in width. So I used just where it stopped. That's where I stopped. Okay. So I'll sew it in the middle. Note that point that we notch. That's the point you're following. So I won't have to sew another line. I am drawing that, and that line will take it down to the lowest. Okay, what I mean the lowest is it is beyond the half length. The half length is 17 inches, so I'm using 21 inches. Okay, for the lowest, that's where I'll start the ruching. Now this ruching takes the form of pleats. Okay, so I am simply gonna pleat this to the end of this fabric. At this point, I won't pleat it to the end of this fabric until I have taken out my side seam allowance, okay, which is 1 inch. After I've taken out the seam allowance, okay, I will then hem the down part of this gown with about 3 inches, okay, and then I'll finish up this ruching part, and then I'll sew, the line that we sew for this upper decoration. We're following that line to sew it on this ruches, okay. So just watch the way I'm doing it. I did it randomly, so I did not have any kind of pattern that I'm following. So you just make it look nice, okay. So I am pleating it, and I'll pleat it to some extent until I have hemmed the length of this bubu before I'll finish the ruching. So I'm somehow done with that. I turn it the other side. I turn it to the back side, okay. So I will place the belt for the snatching. So I extended the line of the half length that I have. Remember the line we marked, that 17 inches from the shoulder line. So what I'm doing here, I'm simply trying to get the midpoint, okay. So I will have it and know where I am measuring from. So from that midpoint, okay, I'm measuring 5 inches on both sides of that, from that midpoint. 5 inches to the left and 5 inches to the right. At this point, those points are where I will place these ropes, which is about 42 inches length and about 1/4 weight. So I'll simply double fold it because I have that part open, the other part I closed it. So I double fold the edge, okay, and then place it at this point, and I'm about to place the second part. Now you pin that, and when I take it to the machine, I'm gonna sew it like a triangle form just to reinforce it and make it firm. So when I'm done with that, I'll bring in the back panel. On the back panel, because it's going to be a turtleneck and there's no way she'll be able to wear it with ease, so I will slit open. I'll cut open the middle back, okay. I went down with about 8 inches from the neck depth, and then I slice it open. Now, I'll be using a white bias to turn this, okay? I'll use to turn it. Place the right side of the fabric facing the right side of the fabric. So the right side of the back panel facing the right side of the front panel. I'll then use 1/2 inch to sew it at the shoulder. This is what we have. Please give me a thumbs up, share and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.